I have a few questions. I posted that I was going to be interviewing you, so I have a few questions from colleagues that I want to ask you. So somebody asked if you could explain split personalities where one personality has diabetes, but when they're in the other personality, it doesn't have diabetes, or one needs reading glasses, one doesn't. Can you explain that based on your background?
My suggestion is simply this. Remember that the brain is sending information to the body energetically. It's the electrical activity that is creating this, right? That if there's an alteration in the identity, it then leads to an alteration in the psychology because they're not the same. They're fingerprints. EEG is a fingerprint of an identity. And so I say, well, what is it that like multiple personality? Where does this come from? I say, because we can acquire a download from somebody else, or we can make a new download for ourselves. I go, so why is this relevant? Well, let's say I'm being abused and I'm facing severe pain and anxiety and everything. It's like, if I stay in there, I'm gonna die in there. So guess what? I let go of my identity at that moment. I'm now off into another world. I'm not there. When I change personality, I'm not connected to that person anymore. Now I'm in a different personality. But each personality has its own unique vibrational characteristics to it. And the vibrations then determine the characteristic of the biology. So multiples pick different personalities. Is it because of a choice, or is it because there's I didn't get into this before, but what makes us each different from each other is we each have a unique identity. I go, where's that? I say, well, look, if I take my cells out of my body and put it into yours, Lorne, your immune system's going to say not self and destroy those cells. I take your cells, put it in my body, my immune system is going to say not self, destroy those cells. What's the point? The immune system can identify who you are by looking at the cells. And I said, what is the identity? And I say, there's a unique set of protein antennas, like miniature nano antennas on the surface of the cell. No two people have a set of the exact same set. It's like a combination lock. And these are identity receptors, and they're called self receptors. I go, well, that's a cool name. Not that it was intended by the people who named it that, but if you say self receptor, it means receiver of self. And I go, yes, we're a broadcast picked up by these antennas. So I say, pathologically, what if one of these antennas, the protein antenna, changed? I go, oh, well, then the broadcast is going to be different. And all of a sudden it says, oh, well, if I have receptors that can change, then I can pick up different stations because I'm a station. My identity is a broadcast being picked up by the receptors on my cell. And this changed my entire life. For the important part was it says, what if the cell dies? I go, broadcast is still there. It's like television set. My body is a television set playing the broadcast called The Bruce Show. You're watching The Bruce Show. Bruce's physical body dies. Television is broken. Television doesn't work. Television's dead. But is the broadcast still there? If you're watching a show and the television dies, is the broadcast still there? And the answer, of course, it's still there. How would you know? You get another television set, plug it in and turn it on and tune it to the station, and it's back on again. When I understood this, like, oh my God, I'm not even in here. I'm a broadcast. And my cells are picking this up. And in this life, this is the television set that I'm using. But if I die and an embryo shows up with the same set of antennas, self-receptors, I'm back online. But did it say it was a male or female embryo? Not relevant. Does it make a difference if white, black, red, yellow, brown? That's the television set. Now, if the receiving system changes, like one of the proteins alters every now and then, flip-flops, then I change the station that I'm receiving. So I can receive a different identity. But each identity has its own unique psychology, which is then sent to the body. So if I change my identity, I send the broadcast to the body, which adjusts my genes and my behavior to the new broadcast. And this is what multiples have to, they go back and forth. They change their biology every time the different personality comes in because the broadcast is different.
I want to link this to what we talked about earlier then. So if your thinking can change gene expression, so I'm assuming it's changing these self receptors, like you're talking about the protein shifting. So if you have poor health or you don't like your life situation and you consciously change your program, therefore change your personality, change your psychology, then physically you'll get a new broadcast. So you could be healthy, abundant, loving Bruce versus not loving or poor Bruce with cancer. You can, so this is where this is going then. If you change the thinking and you change the proteins, it's going to have a new broadcast, and that broadcast could have love, money, and good health.
Absolutely. And that was the whole idea. I said, if you think that's the only station you have, the one that's causing you all the problems, as we just talked about, I said, well, you can change the station. You can change the program. And all of a sudden, the whole life changes along with it. So in fact, we actually are not clinically expressing, but we're all multiple personalities depending on where we are, what we're doing, who we're with, because it changes. At work, you have a whole different personality than you may have at home. Therefore, you have a whole different biology at work than the biology you're going to express while you're at home. Huh? All of a sudden it says, it's plastic. Yes. And once you know that, then all of a sudden it says, but wait, instead of being an accident, what if I purposely manifest it? I go, well, that's the choice. That's when you become powerful. It's your choice to change the program.
I love, and this reminds me in your good friend, Dr. Joe Dispenza, there's creating, you can cause an effect or causing the effect. And cause and effect is more victim, the environment impacts how you're going to feel. And causing the effect is rehearsing what you want to attract to yourself. And that's
Absolutely.
what's going to be the expression.
Yeah,
now,
one's a reflex behavior, subconscious, input, output, stimulus, response. No thinking, just input, output. But if you start to operate from the conscious mind and not defer to subconscious programmings, then creativity is between the stimulus and the output. But if it's below subconscious, stimulus in, response out, no thinking. And that's why, programming a person's subconscious, they're automatically creating behavior with no thought involved, just input, output. And the only power we have is to recognize I'm the one who can decide what the hell is going to happen between the input and the output. And if I can decide that, then I can manipulate my life character. And that's what we're talking about.
And you said something that I want to just latch on to. We are the broadcast. We are not the TV set. We are the broadcast consciousness. So how has that shifted for you? Basically, does this mean we don't die as consciousness if we're the broadcast? If my body is the TV set and I break the TV set, the physical body's gone, but my broadcast, my consciousness of Lorne still exists?
Absolutely. This is what changed my life. Now, I mean, a lot of my scientific colleagues saying, oh, Lipton, you're just extending this to be weird. And I go, hey, it fits what we know. and therefore it makes sense out of the concept that many people can refer to a previous life and actually, demonstrate that that wasn't an accident, that somehow or other they were here before. And if you really can talk to a youngster, let's say somewhere between 2 and 3, and say to them, hey, so tell us about where you were before you came here. At that age, they actually still have some conscious recollection of where they were before. But then it sort of disappears just shortly after that, so that we lost the continuity of the previous existences. But if you get a child early enough and can have a dialogue, they will indicate usually where, that they were here before already. And this is beautiful, because then it says, I am more than this body. I am the spirituality. And it's a two-way street. My consciousness is influencing my spirituality. That's called the karma, because I'm broadcasting back to source. The analogy I use in the lectures is, I can't go to Mars, but I want to know what it's about. So I send up the equivalent of a human. I say, that little Mars rover go-kart is the equivalent of a human? I go, well, it does. It moves around, and it has sense receptors that read the environment, so we know what's going on. So I say, how does it work? I say, there's a guy at NASA. He sends a signal to the rover, drives it around. And then what? Well, the rover picks up all this information. What does it do? Sends it back to the guy at NASA. So I say, oh, I'm not on Mars, but I can tell you what the temperature is all about. I can tell you what it looks like. I can tell you, all these different characteristics. I go, all of us are the equivalent of at NASA, and this is called an Earth rover, that we are controlling this, just like the Mars lander, making it move, doing all these things. I say, why is it relevant? Because we're creating the experience, and we're not in it. And as a result, we can change the damn experience. You're the driver of the vehicle. You were given driving lessons by your parents and your community, but most of those lessons are really defective and not allowing you to drive your vehicle to where you want. And then I say, what is the absolute meaning of what I just said in my mind? Bottom line, simple. You don't die and go to heaven. You're born on earth into heaven. This is where consciousness now has a mechanism. It can move around. It can create life. I said, consciousness alone is a broadcast. It's happening right here. Hey, look, you're in the middle of cell phone broadcasts, radio broadcasts, television broadcasts, but since you don't receive them, they have no impact on your life. But this system is receiving a broadcast of identity that allows me, like the guy at NASA, to drive this vehicle, and every time as I drive it, the environment is picked up by my system, nervous system, translated into a broadcast. That's why magnetoencephalograph can read your mind out here, because it's being broadcast back to the source. I say, so what's the relevance? It's heaven on earth. And you go, yeah, but my life doesn't look like heaven. I go, well, that's perhaps because your program is not allowing you to get there. Because when you fall in love, many people at that moment of falling in love stop playing the damn program and keep their conscious hands on the wheel and drive it toward wishes and desires. And in 24 hours after falling in love, your life could have sucked every day. And then 24 hours after falling in love, heaven on earth. Well, how the hell did that happen? And the answer was, oh, because we know falling in love is one of the things that keeps your mind present and therefore prevents the subconscious from running the show. And when you keep your conscious mind present, which is creative, what do you think you're going to manifest? What you want. And so the honeymoon is just a moment where we actually, for a moment in our lives, stop playing the program. I said, what was the consequence? Health, harmony, joy, love, beautiful experiences. Wow, that was what the intention was when we first got here. But if you got misprogrammed, then your life will be a struggle as you try to attempt what you want to get, your creative wish, but have to deal with the damn programming that takes you away from that. And so what if you could have a honeymoon every day the rest of your life? And the answer is, you can.
I love it. And that reminds me, then again, you want a honeymoon every day, check out brucelipton.com and his book, The Honeymoon Effect. I got to enjoy your lecture in Nanaimo, and then I got to get the book right after that, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you very much. Some resources for you guys, brucelipton.com. There's books there. There's videos. If you like these kind of interviews I'm doing, I have several. We got Bruce Lipton here. We got several quantum physicists on there. Check out Acubalance.ca or check out the YouTube channel for Acubalance, and you'll see interviews like this with Bruce, other speakers as well. And then books, all three of Bruce Lipton's. Somebody asked me, which one? All of them, of course. Like if you want to heal your mind, I wish it was easy with one book. Repetition. I've read each of your books more than twice. So keep reading, because the conscious mind can only take it a little bit. Subconsciously, you get it all on the first read, but it's nice to have some of it up front in the consciousness.
No, actually, the conscious mind got it all on the first read. The subconscious mind started to pick it up on the second read, because now you do repetition. That was
right. And then there's Dr. Joe Dispenza has some great books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Being Supernatural. Jill Blakeway has a book on energy medicine. There's tons of resources for those people that are like, okay, I want, most people want to have joy and happy. They want effortless abundance. They want perfect health. They want loving relationships, right? Purpose and meaning. I mean, we're more the same than different. And so I encourage you to look at as much as you can, because it's available to us now. That's what's so great. So brucelipton.com, check out the Acubalance YouTube channel, check out some of those books that we've recommended, because my incentive here, why do I want you to do this? I want the planet to heal. I'm healing my mind as much as I can. I'm sharing it in my clinic and when I do my talks. However, I know you have to heal your mind to heal the planet. So I'm healing mine, and then I want to spread this information so people can do their work. And it is work. And if you live in Vancouver, I encourage you to check out Gila Golub's website. She's the teacher I go to. That's been amazing. Bruce's website's amazing. Bruce, where are you now? Are you in New Zealand? Where do you live now?
Half time in Santa Cruz, California, and half the time in New Zealand.
Nice. I'll be in New Zealand in May, so if you're there, I may try and find you. And I'm going to put this out there. I would love to organize something in Vancouver where we have people like you and Joe and Lynn and Gabrielle Bernstein. Like, I'd love to have a consciousness summit. So as my colleagues know, I do a conference for naturopaths and acupuncturists, and I'm hoping, I'm putting it out there that we're going to do something with great minds like this in the beautiful city of Vancouver, because A, it's fun. I could listen to you all day long, and it would be great to bring more people together and that people start doing their work and healing their minds so the planet can heal. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Lorne, thank you for this opportunity to talk to this wonderful audience, because if they're listening to us, they're ready to look for something different. And the important thing for me is simply this: I'm a student of this as much as anybody else is a student. This was not my life. And I had to, as I said, translate my conscious awareness of what the cells told me into subconscious behavior so I could live what they told me. And as soon as I did that, my life did change. And I'm so happy for where I am now compared to where I was before. So it's a great thing.
And thanks for sharing your experience and your knowledge and bringing some science to the mystical as well, and spirituality. So as you mentioned, it used to be the church and now it's science. So for us to want to take that leap of faith and to make the change and do the work, we need a little bit of encouragement, and it helps when there's some science to give it some credibility and back up. So thank you for doing the work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.